It's a story that actually, unlike everything else in the book, I'm not quite sure where I found it. I say it's a story in Nietzsche, but I can't really find it in Nietzsche. But the story goes like this, and it's really a story very similar to that of the Sorcerer's Apprentice. So there's a master, a spiritual master, who looks after a small community. And because he looks after it so well, it flourishes and grows. And after a while, he decides that he mustn't try to look after all the business of this community, because if he did that, he wouldn't be able to maintain his wise overview. So he appoints his sort of brightest and best to go about and do his business on his behalf, effectively a kind of high functionary who is a bit of a bureaucrat who can pass back messages to the master. The thing about this emissary is that, bright as he is, he doesn't know what it is he doesn't know. In other words, he's a typical person with not much insight who thinks they know it all. And so he starts thinking, what does the master know? He sits back there at the temple, sitting on his ass, smiling. But I'm the one that knows everything. I'm the one with the power and the influence. And so he goes about the place donning the master's cloak and pretending to be the master. And because he doesn't know what he doesn't know, and because he doesn't respect the master, the emissary of the master and the whole community falls into ruin. And that struck me very strongly because of the way I understand the relationship of the two hemispheres of the brain, which is a way which is quite different from the one that most people think they know. All of that is quite correctly has been dismissed, but nonetheless there are important differences, very, very important differences. And one is that the right hemisphere understands a good deal more than the left, but the left is the one that does all the kind of administration, does all the talking and does all the kind of working out of things, and it thinks it knows everything, but actually it knows very, very little compared with the right hemisphere. And I believe that we live in a world in which this left hemisphere take has become the dominant one, and we've lost the wisdom that we could have had from what the right hemisphere prompts us to know.
This reminds me of what I think happens to every religion, which is that some great mystic comes along who has, deep spiritual insight and enlightened perspective, but could probably be adept at administration if he put his mind to it, but he's busy having the deep spiritual insight and has better things to do than sort of running an organization. So administrators take over, and and they begin to dumb it down, and in fact they begin to persecute the mystics in that religion, ostracize them, and the whole thing becomes sort of this top-heavy, left-brained operation that loses the spirit that started it in the first place.
Absolutely, and that is the theme of the very last chapter. There are 30 chapters in this book that I'm just finishing now. That chapter is called The Sacred, and it's basically a kind of short book length itself. But in it, what I suggest is that the wellspring that is recognized in our idea of the divine and the sacred is something that cannot be articulated, regulated, systematized, and monetized. And that's what happens when institutions take it over, and it becomes left brain, and it's dogmatic, and you must believe this, and it's all written in a book, and we're right and you're wrong, and all this kind of thing. So it's the opposite of what the what the original person with the insight wished for.
Yeah. There's a joke, you can add it to your book if you like. God and the devil are walking down the road, and God sees something, picks it up and puts it in his pocket, and the devil says, "Hey, what's that?" And God says, "Oh, it's the truth." And the devil says, "Oh, give it to me, I'll organize it for you."